Jake Browning gets the last laugh on the Vikings, and the Bengals' playoff hopes are in very good shape. Mike Petraglia inside Paycor Stadium here on Saturday, an absolute epic in the jungle. 27-24. The Bengals win it in overtime. They didn't lead the game until Evan McPherson booted it through from 29 yards out with just over 3 minutes to go in overtime, lifting the Bengals to their third straight win. At one point, they were 5-6 after Jake Browning and the Bengals lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers here at Paycor. It looked pretty gloomy after the 16-10 loss. They were 5-6. They have since run off 3 straight wins over Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and now Minnesota. They stand 8-6, and they are in the 6th position in the AFC. That would be good enough for the second wild card. But what happened here on Saturday afternoon really goes beyond all of the numbers. It was about heart, will, and determination, and that's what the Bengals showed here at Paycor Stadium. They trailed 17-3 to start the fourth quarter. Their offense was out of rhythm. They lost DJ Reader to a knee injury. He will likely be out for the year. He was lost in the first quarter. They lost DJ Ivy, a key player in that secondary, to a left knee injury later in the first quarter. No status update on him. And Jamar Chase. They lost him for late in the fourth quarter and overtime to a right shoulder injury. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But the Bengals had to do this on really guts and determination. And when Jake Browning found T. Higgins on the first play of the fourth quarter, it was 17-10. Then the Bengals had to convert a 3rd and 21 after Jake Browning was called for intentional grounding. And they did. 25 yards over the middle to Jamar Chase from Jake Browning. He stepped up in the pocket and really made a beautiful throw over the middle. But on that play, Jamar Chase injured his right shoulder. He tried to stay in the game, but later in the fourth quarter, it was announced he had suffered a right shoulder injury. He went to the locker room. He came back onto the field for the end of regulation and overtime, but he was no longer in uniform, clearly done for the day. The Bengals hope to have more information on him on Sunday and Monday. Bengals will not practice on Sunday or Monday and try to rest their bodies after this grueling game that Zach Taylor called the toughest and most competitive game he's ever been a part of in his entire life. Yes, he was elated after the game, and yes, coach speak after the game, but you really got the genuine sense from Zach Taylor and certainly a very exalted and very happy Bengals locker room that they felt the same. They had been through the wars. Jake Browning after this game said, "I need a beer." Well, Jake Browning was able to tie this game not once but twice in the fourth quarter. The second time came on a miraculous play where he was fading off to his right, rolling out, and just tossed the ball up in the air. T. Higgins came back to the 2-yard line, caught it with his arms extended, got his feet down, and then in one motion with his right arm extended, reached behind him with the ball in his right hand and reached it over the goal line with 39 seconds to go, forcing the overtime at 24-24. Bengals couldn't do anything with it in the overtime the first time they had it. Then Minnesota had the ball. 3rd and inches at the Cincinnati 41. Couldn't move the ball. 4th and inches on the Cincinnati 41-yard line. Couldn't move it. Bengals get the ball back, and then it was Jake Browning finding Tyler Boyd on 3rd and 9 from the Cincinnati 45-yard line. That set up the 29-yard game-winning field goal by Evan McPherson. So many stories to tell after this game. We can catch all of the reaction from inside the locker room on my YouTube page, youtube.com/@JungleRoarPod. Of course, clnscincy.com, and on my Twitter page, @Trags, TRAGS. It was one for the books here on Saturday afternoon, a 27-24 win. When Jamar Chase went out of the game, it was Troy Walters, the wide receivers coach, who T. Higgins said came up to him, T. Higgins, and said, "You've got to be the alpha. You're the alpha dog now. You've got to be the guy to go to, and that's the way T. Higgins played at the end of regulation and in overtime. He only had 61 yards. He only had 4 catches, but 2 of them were touchdowns. His first 2 touchdowns since week 2 against Baltimore. After the game, he was asked about that, and he said, damn straight, it felt good to be back in the box, the end zone that would be, for the first time since week 2. T. Higgins looked like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders in this game. He really came through, and also you got to give credit to a lot of other people in this game. Tyler Boyd, of course, the offensive line. Joe Mixon came up with a second effort on 4th and inches at the 1-yard line to get the game tied at 17. And obviously, Jake Browning coming through big time when the team was down 17-3. He said after the game, coming off the field, Minnesota, you should never have cut me. He was very upset about the way things ended in Minnesota in 2021, right before he signed with the Bengals. He wasn't even informed directly, he said, by the Vikings. He held a grudge against them. He hit it all week this week, didn't want to lose the game and then have to answer for it after the game. But after the game today, he let loose. He had the last laugh against the Vikings, and so did the Bengals. Zach Taylor saying we needed everybody in this game, players, coaches, and the crowd. Bengals are now 8-6. They have the Pittsburgh Steelers a week from Saturday. That would be Saturday, December 23rd at Acrisure Field in Pittsburgh. Then a road game New Year's Eve in Kansas City. Home finale here against the Cleveland Browns the week after. Bengals get it done, 27-24 in overtime. Inside Paycor Stadium, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.